So it's been 2 weeks or more since we were recording last. There's a few reasons. One, that I forgot to order some of these 45s, the female 45s, and a female 90, and a couple of extenders. I have been a bit naughty off camera and done these two pipes here, one at the back, one at the front. This front one going up to the radiator does have a little S bend going to the inside of the PC because these two are off. The top radiator is a little bit further in than the input of the graphic card. So I done them as practice runs. They've turned out somewhat alright. I will be showing you how I done the S bend here, which on the camera at this angle you can probably see it a bit, but when you're looking head on to it, it doesn't show up that much. What we'll be doing today on camera is we'll be pulling out the 90 degree bend here, which will be placing it at a 45 degree. So then I can mark where I want the pipe to come down here, which will be another 45 bend. And then somewhere down here, we'll use a 45 degree fitting, as the pipes from EK, they're only 500 millimeters and it won't reach the full length to the reservoir. Yeah, this is the end for the reservoir, the monoblock. So yeah, we'll be joining up two pipes. I have done the drain for the bottom res, which I'll show you all later as well. So yeah, so the first thing that we're doing is I measured out from the monoblock to where the glass comes on the case, the inner of the glass of the case, which is about 17 centimeters. That's just so I know, where I can hold the end of the tube, so I know where to put the bend, and I'll have enough tube to spare that I can just trim down slowly to push it in towards the case, so I can line it up with this pipe here, so they'll be both the same distance away from the graphic card. So I'm going to get that started. It's going to get a little bit noisy. Hopefully I can edit some of the noise down. We are using acrylic pipe, acrylic tubes. There is a difference between the acrylic and the PETG, where for the acrylic you need to warm up a larger area. I believe with PETG you can just warm up a smaller area to make the bend. The acrylic does take more heat. This is 500 or 600 degrees. No, it's a 500 degree heat gun. It's a little over the top for what we need, but that's the only thing I could find at hand. So yeah, as you can see, I have marked out where the glass is. I have placed two other marks here where I know the bend starts and finishes, so I get a rough idea of how much area I need to heat, which is somewhere around here. So we'll start that off. We'll do the 90 and then measure out where this pipe is going to come. So as you can see, I'm just holding this a few centimeters away. I'm just going backwards and forwards, rotating the tube to spread out the heat equally. Just double checking how much I need to warm up. The acrylic tubing, when you're heating it, does get much hotter than the PTG, so you should wear or could wear some sort of gloves just to keep your hands a little safer. As you can see, it's already starting to bend. Just want to make sure that we heat enough area up so we don't get any kinks. Alright, so now I'll do the bend. I'll hold it against the wood or against this. Damn, that's amazing. Against my little mold thing that I made up, just so I can get concise bends, so I can get concise, 90s or 45s. We'll see if this has bulged out or anything as well. If it has, I'll probably replace it. This does take a while to cool down, so just keep it in place. I noticed that some people online are saying, just wet it, but I'd recommend not doing that in case it does give very hairline cracks due to the heat change from hot to cold, as this is acrylic. And as you can see, the bend didn't come where I wanted it to. We did go a little bit over my mark here, which just means I've got more to trim. You can keep this in front of a fan as well. I do have one to my right, but if I turn it on, it's just going to end up making a lot of noise in the sound. It should be enough to take it out now. Give it a look over. I don't know if you can see this properly. I know the camera is just turned off at the back because I can't even see what I see. So that is our bend over here. It's turned out okay. There's no squashes, no lumps or heat bubbles. Seems pretty okay. The only problem was the bend didn't come exactly where I wanted it. But for this first bend, well, it's not that important to be really precise with it on this particular bend, as like I said, we'll be trimming down to line it up with the tube coming out of the GPU. So while that cools off, I'll get my reamer, because I just left it somewhere else. And yeah, so that's quite a lot to trim. I've probably got an extra inch of tubing there. So what I'm going to do now is make sure I can see what the camera is seeing. We just get our reamer, do the inside. We will be trimming this part off again, but for now, we just want to hold it in place with the monoblock. So I can mark out pretty much where the 45 bend down is going to be. When you do come to inserting your tubes, just make sure that you have a smooth edge and not rough or anything, because you will cut the O-ring inside the fittings. So what I'm doing right now is just going to wet the inside of this O-ring with a bit of water. I'm using bottled water. And the same for the tube. So now all I have to do is, actually it was pretty good that it came a little bit over because it would have been getting in the way of the case. So now what I'm going to do is I cut this to be somewhat 45 so I can get an idea of where I need to hold it somewhat like this and mark out where I want the tube to be. We'll be marking out the outer edge of the tube over here somewhere, and that will be where we try to get our bend to go, our 45 angle. So I'm going to do this bit off camera. As you can see, it's a little bit fiddly. I need like 4 extra hands. So I'm going to do that, mark it up, and I'll bring you guys back again.
A few inches later.
Alright, so I've measured the inside, got a rough idea of where the angle is to come. Hopefully, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that I messed one of these tubes up, and that is something, you know, that if this is your first time doing actual water cooling and you are using hard tubes, you will be wasting quite a bit of it. So remember just to buy extra than what you probably need. Just get the first 2 bits and just pretty much try to do a 90, try to do a 45, get a rough idea of how much space you need to warm, how big the bends will come on their own without forcing it, you know, without forcing the bend to become smaller. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do a couple of practice runs till you get used to the whole thing. Having said that, I'm still not used to the whole thing, and I could very easily just ruin a piece of pipe either with the wrong measurement, or it slips, or I don't warm up enough space, and you'll end up messing up the whole bend. And now the other things that I need to point out, like with the acrylic, you need to make sure that your bends are not gonna come too close to each other. I mean, firstly, it's not gonna look good, even though in your head you're thinking it's gonna come out, it's gonna look good. What happens is you could end up opening up the bend near it, especially if you have your insert pushed well inside the first bend. It could spring it open, so it could just push it this way if you warm up too much or too close to it. So you can try not to keep the bends too close. And at the same time, say if I wanted a bend here, a straight piece and a bend, you won't fit it in. You won't fit a small straight piece in here and then the bend. It's just going to come like a big U. So those are some things to point out. You know, when you do your first couple of bends, you'll probably have to recheck your idea, your drawing, or whatever. So to be honest, I think this one is probably going to be a bit too close. I know the bend for a 45 will start somewhere around here. Having said that, you still need to warm up a little bit more. And obviously down here as well, so we shall see. I think I bulged out a bit. It seems to have bulged out on me because I pushed it that way.
A few moments later.
Should have cooled down a bit now. Let's have a look. So as you can see now, the way I set it up, so I know where this is where I wanted the bend to go. Hopefully, you know, it's all, I measured it properly. So I use this just as a guide, really, just to have something to push this up against to keep it straight as well. So I got another piece of board here, so it doesn't go back and forwards, and a small bit of cardboard just to close the gap up, just to keep it firm. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, there is a bit of a bulge. You just make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing on the cam. There's a bit of a bulge, a bit of a scratch. That's the thing with acrylic. You just look at it and it's going to end up getting scratched, so you do have to be careful. It did squash here and bulged out here, so that could have been just because you know, not proper distribution of the heat, not enough area heated up. I did have difficulty slotting it in, as you could see earlier. There was a bit of an issue getting it in there properly, so that did cause some extra strain there, or something obviously went wrong. Anyway, let's have a look at how it came over here. Make sure that I did measure right, at least. We'll have a look. So the next thing is, as this is not going to reach our reservoir, we do need to attach the pipe together, another pipe. So we'll either make another 45 down here, where I could then attach this to and come straight out that way towards the reservoir. So it'll be something like this. Over here. So I'll try to mark that up. And obviously we'll be having another pipe coming here. Try to go for the same distance down. We would have to go further down than this one for the other 45. So it comes straight across and into our radiator. So I've set up a push-pull system on this. I'll just get everything squared. So this will be our drain. I'm just going to double check to see if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Alright. So this is our drain system. If anything happens, just turn this and the liquid will come out of here into a container. We do have one extender down here, a double 45, another extender into, what is this, cross piece or a T. This is like a T junction. I was thinking of just going straight up from here, and then our other tube fits in here. So I don't know, I could twist this over here like that. Could also have, instead of this fitting, I could have a 90 just to give me some more space from here if needed, but we'll see how the reservoir is going to line up first. So we'll fit this in later on. And there you go. So I made this. These were parts of the case. These were two fan brackets, which I've yet to drill in 2 holes here, bolt it down like I've done over here. This was the hard disk tray, which will be holding these for your hard disk. So as I wasn't using them, I thought I will put this right behind the fans of the front of the case, which is exactly the same width and fits in properly. We do have some hole fittings here, but I'll probably have to end up drilling the case a little and we can then put the reservoir anywhere along here, which is our template. We can fit the reservoir anywhere over here, and that will be going at any height on the front behind the fans. So we'll be going anywhere on the front part. So that one's that, but we'll figure out where the height of where we'll be putting this once I sort out the two tubes passing alongside the GPU, and also where this will be coming as well, which I guess that would be defined by where the tube will be coming out of the reservoir. So we try to avoid any funny bends. Anyway, I'm going to take this pipe out again. Well, actually, I'm not going to take it out yet. I'm just going to see where I want the 45 to start now, which I would like to have it start somewhere here, to be honest, so I can match the top. So we'll see about that one. Anyway, I'll bring you guys back very soon. Okay, so I measured this where I wanted my 45 to come, which will be coming out of here. The way I've tried to measure it is so the beginning of it starts exactly where the edge of the graphic card is. So hopefully, like this, keep ourselves at a 90 here, so it's still straight, and all I have to do is just bend it this way. I can't go this way with it as I have a little piece here as a little stopper for me. That is 90. That's good. Anyway, I guess we should start to bend this one. Hopefully it works out as planned. If not, there's plenty more tube to bugger up. Hold on, I already forgot what I was supposed to warm up. Somewhere here. So we're warming up something like that. Oops. Let's see how well we do. So, have a look. Let's see how badly we've done. I mean, this 45 came out much better than my previous one. Like I said, for some reason I don't know how I just squashed it and pushed it in too hard here, which is why it sunk inwards here, and that was because I just pushed it too much at an angle. I didn't let the insert do its work by itself. I kind of pushed it more. Anyways, get these off. And wet to the hole. Yeah, plenty of dirty thoughts right now, but anyway. Okay, so that has come pretty much as planned. So what I did was I made a mark where I wanted my bend to start. I made a little test piece, considering that this pipe is a bit of a funny shape at the moment, and So I made a little test piece just to see where the bend is going to start, where the bend is going to finish, as I was using this side of my mold. So then I could calculate basically where I should put my mark, so the bend will start somewhere close to the bottom of here. And for now I'm happy with it. I'm pretty sure later on I'm going to end up changing it. Probably all of them. I'll probably find something that bugs me. So that one's that one. And now we see where we can go with our tube here. We can find out. See how far we can go. Let's go if we get this one. Just play this guy through. So this is where it gets stuck. This is where I can't push it any further. And so we'll have our 45 somewhere down there. Now that to me seems a little too low for my liking. Because once we do this one, it's going to come a little bit lower. It's going to come more lower than our current one here. Well, this is something I have to choose off camera. I mean, if it stays the same, if you see something different, then you know I've changed it. I mean, if I do a new bend on the, or start the new pipe, I'll bring you guys back just to show you, you know, how I'm doing things. So for now, I'm just gonna have a little sit down and think about this this last angle, if it's going to be too low for my liking or not. I'll bring you guys back once I've made a decision and show you what I've done.
3 days later.
Alright, so yesterday we ended up finishing off, well, we made our pipe from the monoblock, which will be going into our reservoir and pump, and today we shall be doing from the GPU towards our radiator. I have already marked out where I want the bend to be, but I thought I'd actually show you guys how you actually mark these out. And for this one, as we've got the two fittings on the GPU block, which are opposing each other at a 45 degree, and due to the fitting width, we need to make sure that they actually that we can tighten them without any issues. And for the first time I'd done the top one from GPU, from the radiator to the GPU, I wasn't using the fitting here. Just put in the can. No, no, camera not. So this fitting here, I'd done it without the fitting, and the angle was a little offset, and due to that I couldn't get this fitting in. I couldn't get this one in. Because it was grinding against here, or in the opposite way, this would have been grinding against here, as the angle was a little off. So if you are doing a 45 like this, then make sure you have the fittings in place, make sure you have the fittings on, because it'll just mess things up for you. So the way I mark this, get that out of the way. So I just basically eyeball where, and as you can see I'm holding these two together. I basically eyeballed where I want the pipe to come down whilst I held up the camera. And then I made a mark here and here, so I've got the mark of the inner and outer of our pipe where it's going to come down. And then take it out. We come over here and just see if you guys I'm seeing what's the camera seeing? Okay. You can put your piece of pipe there if you want. This will be where you want your pipe to go. We have our markings. You want to put your pipe right on the edge here. So you line your marking up as to this is your outer of your pipe. And then, so you don't, so your bend doesn't end up over here. I just made a little mark, something to push the pipe against when I'm bending. And that should come in the middle, or the little rivets there of the GPU should come in the middle of this pipe. There are markings on this, so I'm going to get rid of them because they will only get baked into the pipe. So make sure that's all clean. And then we can start to warm this up. Always make sure that your insert is also clean of any grit or dust and stuff that can mark the inside. Okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna pop this on just so I don't burn my fingers. The heat gun did remind me it was hot against my arm. I don't know if that's going to show up in the cam, but definitely a nice little brand. And this would work better if it was actually plugged in. So it should be alright. Just to put it in, hold it in place. It's pressed up against my little stopper thing. That should be right by now. So, take our insert out. Today I'm actually using some fairy up liquid just to go around the edges of our tube, because I noticed that with water and if you leave it overnight, the O-rings really get really grippy and it's really hard to take the tube out. Hopefully with some fairy up liquid keep things easier to work with, pulling and pushing out these tubes. And you have to push it until it goes all the way inside. So it's like there's a centimetre, it goes in a whole centimetre basically, just to give you an idea of. And I will be taking everything out and cleaning everything up, giving it a good little wash. Yeah, and it's hitting the base here, so it's going to be a little off, but that's pretty much where I wanted it. We have the little rivets behind here, right in the middle. This should be somewhat the same, like so. My only issue is that I still think that this is too low. I can probably go up another 5mm, nearly a centimetre. We'll see about that. I do know I do have a bit of a bulge here, so this is a pipe that I am actually considering of redoing. Obviously I'll be doing that off camera. So now we know that we basically have, I'll measure this gap here, we can repeat it down here, and we'll see from there. So I'm going to measure all that up, and it's going to be a bit of a pain, and I'll bring you guys back and I'm going to start to bend it. Alright, so I've got everything somewhat measured. As you can see, I made my marks where I want the start of the bend to happen. Hopefully it's going to match up with the one that we've already got in place. Just made a little setup here so I can just push this against and have where I want to start the bend meet up with this little jig here, so I can just put it in and just bend it around. So hopefully, got soap on my fingers. Hopefully, it will all turn out right. So I'm going to start warming this one up. Double check basically where or how much I need to heat. So somewhere like here, this area. I'll try to keep that. Okay, there goes nothing.
A few moments later.
Right, so let's see. After sitting here for a while, blowing on my tube, see how this fits in. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, those bends, they do not line up at all. Or is it because this one's flopping down a bit? Actually, no, this is staying in the right place once it's all squared. That seems right. I guess. Alright. Well, I'm just going to check a couple of things out. Just double check the way it looks. Plan next. Plan where I'm going to put the cut. And I'll bring you guys back when I made a decision.
2,000 years later.
Okay, so it's been a little while since I've recorded last, and I have done a number of stuff off camera though. Currently, I just took the PC apart, cleaned it all up, and got rid of some of the little plastic dust. And as we drilled a couple of holes in the case to remove some of the metal there that was inside, and remove the PSU ready for the filling the water loop up. But currently the water loop is not in the PC. I'll be doing that in a minute. But I did want to address a few things, namely the grommets here. Now, I don't know what Thermaltape were thinking of at the time, because this is a standard size mainboard, yet their grommets are so close to it. If you're using your standard cables, they're pretty stiff, and you won't be able to bend it around. So I really have no idea how they calculated where they were placing them. So that's one thing about the case. The other thing was it's quite problematic to line up the screws to tighten in the board. There's a bit of a pain in the neck. Apart from that, as far as the case goes, it's a decent case to work with. There's plenty of space. This is why I chose it really, because I wanted to have a radiator on the bottom and one on the top, whilst having the front free for some airflow coming in from the front, even though we have set the just turn the camera a bit. Even though we do have the reservoir and pump there on the front, but airflow is still coming in. So yeah, that's my only sort of complaint about this case. It's the Core X71. The thermal take is just the placements of those grommets. They should have been further out for sure. But anyway, so later on, well, we'll be changing the PSU cables into a soft cable. The only problem is I just don't know what colours that I'd want to go with. So if anyone feels like sharing some ideas in the comment section, please go for it. Just give me a rough idea of what sort of colours to go for in this build, really. Even for the liquid as well. So far the liquid is just going to be transparent. I was hoping to go for something UV reactant with it, just to add to the coolant, not buying a whole bottle of coolant, just some drops or something. It could be coloured as well. So even that, you know, if somebody could leave an idea, that'll be more than welcome. And as far as the, let me just see what we're seeing on the camera here. Yeah, as far as the hardware from EK Waterblocks, there's only 2 or 3 things that are sort of bugging me. Firstly, the little screw holes here. Now these are they're sunk in about a good 2 millimeters, and that 2 millimeter can cause you some problems if you're screwing through like this case has, where you put the fans on a bracket and then you have the, so we have the metal bracket here, the fans attached to it, and then you have the radiator right on the back of it. So I was having some difficulties getting the screws to actually go through. There's a few, alright, in this case these would have gone in. There was just 1 or 2 that wouldn't reach the thread on the other side. So that's one thing. And the other thing would be, I mean, all these cables, fair enough, these fans are RGB, but even the standard fans, these could have all been daisy chained, really. I don't know why there's no other connection to plug in another fan to it, just to carry on the chain, daisy chain. That's pretty much it, really. So yeah, that's 2 of the 3 minor upsets. The other one, if I can find it, is when you're really close to a bend. I don't know if these are showing up on cam, but these are all little scratch marks where, when you're trying to fit stuff in, and you've got it placed in, this can just slide down. I mean, fair enough, you know, it should move around. The only problem is if it slides down, it can get caught with the bend, as it's not straight, so it gets caught up, which does have, you know, does get stuck. And when it gets stuck, you pull it out and you end up making another scratch. So I don't know if EK would be even watching this, but it would be nice if this edge inside here could be rounded off a little, instead of having a pretty, I'm not going to say sharp, but you know, there is an edge to it, especially against the plastic, as you can see, you know. So those are my only complaints so far in terms of hardware. But apart from that, I mean, everything from EK has been good. I mean, fair enough, we still have to find out if anything is gonna leak, like a radiator or a block, but I highly doubt it. And like I said already, you know, their customer care service is real spot on. They're very helpful. They get back to you as soon as possible, and I've had no issues, you know, communicating with them, getting feedback. And so that's those two bits sorted out. Now, off camera, let me just get this out of the way. So off camera, I did do a few things, like this one here. As you can see, there's what I would call this an S bend. For me, that's like an S, so I'm calling it an S bend. The way I did that was I determined how much space, how far I wanted it to move, and I just clamped down two blocks, you know, making sure everything is squared and straight with the distance that I need. In this case, I wanted something like was it like a distance of sort of like 3 tube widths. Obviously you'll be measuring this inside your case. So all I did then is actually warm up this whole area, and when it was pliable, just put it down and just with your hands just push it. Obviously this would be straight, so I held it from one end and pulled it to the other, and then just moving your hands in just to try to tighten up the bend. So that was that one, and this is again another one. This was from the GPU to the top radiator. Again, it has another S bend in, and this was pretty much the same thing. Just held it in position, set where I wanted the width, the distance for it, and just put basically on this one I just put my finger here and here and just held it pretty tight. So that made this S bend as well. So that's that for now. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to assemble the whole thing again and bring you guys back when I'm filling it up.